Hello everyone, I'm Tammy Barboza with Encompass Community Supports, and welcome to this episode of CommYOUnity, where our agency, Encompass Community Supports, hopes to bring you information and resources to help you navigate the somewhat unpredictable journey that many of us call life. And our two special guests for this episode of CommYOUnity are Angela Jameson, and Angela is the Community Engagement and Partnerships Coordinator for Central Virginia VA Healthcare System, and Jim LaGraffe, Executive Director of Encompass Community Supports. Angela and Jim, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So today's focus is about a very important event that is occurring on Saturday, March 2nd, right here in our local community of Culpeper. It is for service members, veterans, and their families. And it is a mini conference full of resources and information for anyone who is a service member, veteran, or family member of a service member or veteran. I mentioned that it was Saturday, March 2nd. Where is it being held and what is the time frame?
So it's at Germanna Community College. It's going to be taking place from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m.
Wonderful. And how and why did this mini conference come to be in the first place?
So originally, the idea of the mini conference actually started with a community group that started meeting about 6 months ago. And the community group got together to talk about the challenges that our local service veterans and their families were having in accessing services that were entitled to them in our local community. That group actually started and consists of Encompass Community Supports, the Culpeper Hospital, UVA Hospital in Culpeper, some service groups like the Mental Health Association, Heroes Bridge, but then also expanded into groups like in the faith community, Culpeper Baptist Church, Reformation Lutheran Church, and our congressional offices, Congresswoman Wexton's office and Congresswoman Spanberger's office, as well as different veteran administration groups, whether it's the Virginia Veterans Administration or some of the federal veteran administration groups. As we got together to discuss the services and the challenges that are, well, I should also say as well as local VFWs and American Legions. As we got together to talk about the challenges that we were experiencing or that our service veterans were experiencing in accessing those services, one of the primary themes that kept repeating itself over and over was a lack of awareness of services that were available and what our local veterans are entitled to receive, as well as the challenges of access. And so the group, as it got together, made the decision that if we were going to move forward with really increasing awareness and access to services, the first place to start was to create an event that would be free and accessible to our region's veterans and their families, where they could come in and get kind of that first blush access, awareness of what is available to them. And so the conference really grew out of that idea in those first few meetings.
Thank you, Jim. And you mentioned a handful of organizations that really were the foundation for planning this event. Those organizations will also be exhibiting, along with more than 20 other exhibitors during this event. There is a very wide net of resources and information available. And speaking of which, Angela, your organization will have a number of tables. Could you speak to them?
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to have our chaplain services, our suicide prevention table. We give out veteran crisis line information and swag. We'll also have our caregiver support program, so that's really important for families to know. This isn't just for service members or veterans, but their families as well. I believe we have close to a dozen of our programs coming out.
That's wonderful. And by your organization, this is Central Virginia VA Healthcare System.
Yes.
Did I get it correctly?
You got it correct.
Okay, great. Why is it so important for your organization to take part?
Well, a large part of kind of even how we got involved starts with my program a little bit. So, as you mentioned in the intro, I'm the Community Engagement and Partnerships Coordinator, and that role is part of our suicide prevention program within VA. And there is one of me at every single facility that we have throughout the nation. And what our major role is really working with the community to identify different barriers, gaps, and come in and provide technical assistance and planning assistance and things like that. And so this was just kind of a perfect fit for us to be able to do that and bring some resources, bring some information and just knowledge sharing for this event.
Absolutely. And Jim, as you mentioned, this is free and open to anyone within the community. Saturday, March 2nd is at the Daniel Technology Center of Germanna Community College here in Culpeper, the Culpeper campus. Angela, we talked a little bit about the exhibitors. Let's talk about the breakout sessions. And I know that we're still finalizing presenters for that, but could you give our viewers, either Jim or Angela, a sense of what type of breakout topics we will have there?
Sure. I don't mind starting just to talk a little bit about some of the VA breakout sessions that we have. We're going to be bringing in some folks to do advanced care planning groups. And that is extremely important anytime you're trying to make medical decisions for yourself. In the case that there's some kind of incapacitation or you're not able to make those decisions, we want to have a group or a couple groups to be able to discuss how to make those decisions, how to assign a healthcare agent in advance, how to make those end-of-life decisions that can be really difficult. And we'd rather have you have a voice in that and have that all kind of formalized and finalized prior to needing it in a medical crisis or mental health crisis.
So more preparedness.
Exactly, exactly. Additionally, we'll have a SAVE training, which is a peer-to-peer suicide prevention training to really recognize if a veteran or service member is in a crisis, how would you identify the signs of that? And how would you have that difficult conversation? How can you be a good listener and really validate that experience and then get them into some kind of treatment or get them connected to the right care? And so those are just a couple examples. We're going to have plenty more, but a couple that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, and I would just echo that, how important these breakout sessions are to our local veterans. The advanced care planning obviously is critically important. We as Encompass, as an organization, I think most of our viewers know, really focuses on behavioral health services and some housing supports and services. So we see all the time the challenges that our local veterans face in the areas of substance abuse and suicide prevention. So bringing in other partners who understand, and help people to have those really difficult conversations. I do also know we'll have other breakout sessions during this on how to access benefits, which is, again, a real challenge. People are confused on where do they start, how do they get enrolled, and so to have someone locally who is here who will be able to help you really, where do I start? What am I eligible for? I know there are lots of different programs within the Veterans Administration. I know lots of people have heard of the PACT Act and some of those types of programs. What does it mean? What am I eligible for? So I have a lot of those types of breakout sessions as well for people. Focus on getting information to people, helping people access the people who can help them as they're looking for what they're entitled to receive.
Thank you. You touched upon, Angela, the suicide prevention. Actually, both of you did. There is a very easy phone number out there for veterans. It's the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline, which many of you may be familiar with, is 988. However, specific to veterans and service members and families, other than the 988, they press 1 after dialing 988. And what happens then, Angela?
So I'm glad you brought that up. The Veterans Crisis Line 988 Press 1 has 3 different call centers throughout the nation with over 500 trained responders who can help somebody that is either in a mental health crisis themselves, as well as if you're concerned about a veteran, if you're concerned about a service member, you can call and get somebody on that line 24/7, 365 days a year to respond to that and making sure people are safe and getting the help that they need. And oftentimes, for veterans who've never had any kind of interaction with the VA, that's often how they kind of get connected to us, and we can often follow up locally with our suicide prevention team.
And again, that number is?
988 press 1.
Yes, I don't think it could be any more simple than that. And as opposed to 911, right? So 988 is specific to suicide, correct?
Any type of mental health crisis, yes.
All right. Look, we talked a lot about the breakout sessions. We talked a lot about the examples of exhibitors. Let's talk about why people should come. Even if you cannot be there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., being there for just a portion of the day, whatever you're able to afford as far as your time goes on March 2nd, would be well worth it. We didn't talk about the opening ceremonies, so let's touch on that if we may.
Sure. So we are very pleased that starting at 9 o'clock, we will have opening remarks from our Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger to talk about her work with veterans and making sure that people get the services and supports. That will be followed at 10 o'clock with a pinning ceremony. And the pinning ceremony is focused on Vietnam-era veterans and to recognize them for their efforts during that time period. So anybody who is a Vietnam veteran or surviving spouse or family member can call and register. We'd love to recognize you or your family member during that point in time. And then at 11 o'clock, we will be having a question and answer session with an administrator from the Fredericksburg Veterans Hospital, really to talk about the medical services that are available to you, accessing those services, and again, answering a lot of questions. So if you are interested, one of the things we will be doing at the beginning of that day is taking questions that can be answered during that session as well.
I see. And so submit your questions when you arrive that morning to the event. And is it possible for folks to submit any questions prior to that morning?
You can. There is on the Encompass Community Supports website, you will see a veterans area. If you scroll down on our webpage, there's a link to the conference. While the conference is free and open to anybody in our community, we are requesting, if possible, that people will register. That just gives us a good count for lunch. Lunch is included, lunch is free, coffee, donuts in the morning are all free and accessible, and no one will be turned away for any reason who comes to the conference. But what we are hoping to do, just to get a good, we want to make sure we have enough lunches for everybody who comes.
Absolutely. Because food talks,
Yes. And so while you are there, you'll be able to submit questions as well.
Perfect. And for any viewer who's maybe listening to this and watching who is unfamiliar with the Daniel Technology Center at Germanna's Culpeper campus, there is ample parking, free parking, and it is handicap accessible as well. So those are important components to mention. And folks, as Jim mentioned about registration, we will have both the QR code on our screen as well as the website address. So it's www.encompasscommunitysupports.org, or if you just want to put your camera to the screen and take a picture of the QR code, it will lead you directly to the registration page. In closing, what message would you like to send to our viewers, Angela, as to why this event is so important for our community?
I just think that it's really important that everyone recognizes, particularly I speak to suicide prevention a lot because I'm part of that team, but that we all have a role to play, and whether or not you're a service member, veteran, or family member, that 1 in 12 Virginians is a veteran. So whether you are at work or school or church, wherever you're at, you're likely interacting with a veteran, and you never know if you might learn of a new resource that could help them be safe and connected.
Thank you. And Jim?
The word I would like to get out is, we have been hearing more and more about how it's a challenge for for our veterans to know what is available to them. And, you have earned these benefits. And so we are really hopeful that you will take advantage of the event, spread the word. If you know someone who's a veteran who might not be willing or able to come out and join us, come out, get information, make connections. We can only get information to people we know who reach out to us, right? So it's critically important that whether it's from a health care, whether it's a mental health care, whether it's substance abuse, there are so many available services that you've earned that you're entitled to. And this, I think, offers an excellent opportunity to get all of those individuals you may need to be talking to at different points in time, to talk to all of them, right? You will have, as you said earlier, Tammy, there will be exhibitors from a wide variety of veteran support organizations, that whether it's benefits or medical care, whatever the case might be, you will be able to talk to someone and get your questions answered.
Absolutely. All under one roof, folks. The wide array of topics having related to veteran service members and their families, it is like a one-stop shop, if you will.
Right.
Yes.
I think the other thing I think that would be very helpful is, in addition to the veterans benefit groups, there's also lots of other support organizations that will be at the conference. So if you are interested in helping veterans, this is a great way as well to make contacts with some of those other organizations that really have as their mission supporting our area veterans as well. So you can reach out to them, and you can also find out ways that you can also help if interested.
Thank you. Thank you. Angela, do you have any closing comments, remarks, words of wisdom, nuggets of info?
No pressure, right? Really, I just want to thank everybody who's putting everything together. It's a really unique opportunity that we haven't had, from the VA. We've got folks coming from Richmond, Fredericksburg. We have even folks coming from Quantico, all over to bring this to you all. So please come. We want to meet you. We want to interact with you and network and connect and support you.
And veterans and service members of all branches, correct?
Yes, absolutely. All branches, all time periods, we've got something for you.
Perfect. So folks, we do hope to see you, your loved ones. Please help us spread the word to any veteran or service member or family of them that you may know. And go to our website, www.encompasscommunitysupports.org. We will have it on the screen. We will also have our QR code that you can take a picture of, and it will direct you right to our registration page. And as a reminder, the important event for families, service members, and veterans, it is a mini conference from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, March 2nd. So coming up right at the Germanna Community College Culpeper campus within the Daniel Technology Center. Thank you both for joining today, and I'm hoping that this will only help increase the number of attendees that day, and like you said, Jim, increase awareness.
Thank you, Dan.
You're very welcome. And thank you for watching this episode of CommYOUnity. I want to thank Culpeper Media Network for allowing us to relay this information to you in this venue. And we do hope that you attend and your loved ones attend, and veterans and service members that you may know. Please help spread the word of this important event for our service members, veterans, and their families from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday, March 2nd at the Culpeper campus of Germanna Community College. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.